Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about an equip animation. And if we go to our anim starter pack, we'll see that we can type in equip and there's a equip pistol standing and equip rifle standing. Double click equip rifle standing and we'll get this equip function here. So it looks like the character reaches behind and equips a rifle. We're going to go ahead and use this. So in order to use it, we need to retarget it to Bellica's skeleton. So let's go ahead and right click on Equip Rifle Standing, retarget anim assets, duplicate anim assets, and retarget, and select Bellica's skeleton. Go ahead and select retarget, and now we have a retargeted skeleton, and Bellica is reaching back and equipping a weapon. So here we have our equip animation. Now let's go ahead and close out of this and move the equip rifle standing into our underscore game slash character slash animations folder here. So we'll move it from content to animations and click move here. Now in the animations folder, let's find that equip rifle standing animation. Here it is. And let's open it. And we're going to go ahead and trim off some frames until it has exactly what we need. So I think we could start it off reaching back behind her like this. You know, in action games, the less time it takes to do something, the better. So we can go ahead and start it off back here just like this. And so I'm going to right click and remove frame 0 to frame 21. And in fact, I might actually remove a few more frames. I might remove all the way up to here. So remove the first few frames there. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, this is personal preference. If you wanted to start it off at the beginning, you can do that. But I'd like to save time and just have her start off from reaching behind her to equipping the weapon. So it's kind of like she's just pulling it out from behind her back. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this equip rifle standing animation. And we're going to use a anim montage when we want to play this animation. Let's go ahead and create a new animation montage here in the animations folder. And we'll select Bellica's skeleton and let's call this equip montage. And for equip montage, we're going to get our asset browser open, type equip, and use equip rifle standing. Now let's go ahead and drag that in. Right here for slot name, we're going to choose the reload slot. Now at the end of this animation, we're going to want to be able to fire off some code in order to take care of whatever needs to be done when we're done reloading. So we're going to add a notify here, and we're going to right click, add notify, new notify, and we'll call this finish equipping. Now next we're going to take care of the C++ side for starting this animation. So let's go back into Visual Studio, and here in shooterCharacter.h, I'm going to scroll up to the top and take a look at our combat state. Now we have our unoccupied, fire timer in progress, and reloading states. Now we don't want to perform any actions that we shouldn't be performing when we're equipping, just like when we're reloading and firing. So let's add another enum state to combat state, and let's call this ECS equipping. And we'll set the display name to equipping. And as soon as we exchange inventory items, we're going to set our combat state to equipping because we're actually pulling out a different weapon. So let's go into shooterCharacter.cpp and search for exchange inventory items. And let's go to that function definition here. And here in exchange inventory items, we're going to set our combat state to equipping. So let's say combat state equals combat state equipping. So we now have a equip montage, but we need a variable for this on the shooter character. So let's go to shooter character, and here where we have anim montage, reload montage, let's create another one. And we'll go ahead and call this one equip montage. And in shooter character.cpp, in exchange inventory items, so first we're going to create a uAnim instance pointer, and we'll call this local variable anim instance. And we'll set this equal to get mesh get anim instance. Now we're going to check to see if anim instance is valid, and also if our new montage, equip montage, is valid. We need to make sure that that is set on the character, and if so, then we can play our montage. So we're going to say anim instance montage play, and we're going to play equip montage at 1.0f, and we're going to need to jump to a montage section. Let's jump to a section that we'll call equip. So we're going to say anim instance montage jump to section, and we'll use an F name here called equip. Now, if we're going to jump to a section called equip, then we should have a section called equip in here. So right click, new montage section, and call this equip. And then if we right click and drag, we can bring the equip section over and click to bring out the default section. Right click on that, delete montage section, and now we only have the equip section. Let's go ahead and save this. Now we just set our combat state to equipping. So when do we need to set it back to unoccupied? Well, we want to do that when the animation finishes, and we can fire off functions in the animation montage with anim notifies, but we need a function to call to set that combat state back. So let's create a blueprint callable function. Let's scroll up to where we have our reload montage, and we have a blueprint callable function for that called finish reloading. Why don't we just stick our finish equipping function here? So we're going to call this void finish equipping, and it's going to be a U function with blueprint callable. Now let's define this. We'll give it a function definition, and all we need to do is set our combat state. So we're going to say combat state equals e combat state ECS unoccupied. Now we're going to compile this, and while that's compiling, we can add the anim notifies. And here in the animation blueprint, we'll go to the event graph, and I'll right click down here and say finish equipping, and here's the anim notify called finish equipping. Now just like we did here, we're going to use shooter character and is valid. So we'll check to make sure that the shooter character is valid, and if it is, then we can simply call that blueprint callable function we created called finish equipping. And once we've compiled, we can drag off of shooter character and type finish equipping and get our blueprint callable function finish equipping and call it from this notify. Now we'll go back into the editor, select our equip rifle standing, set its play rate to 1.65, and for blend option, blend in, we can set the blend time to 0. Now let's save this. Now another thing that will affect this animation is our recoil weight, and if we go back into shooter anim instance.h, we'll see that we have variables that will affect our recoil weight, like crouching, aiming, and so on. Now we can also affect recoil weight if we are equipping. So we can go ahead and add a new boolean to shooter anim instance.h called b equipping. So I'm going to copy b crouching and paste it, and I'll call this new one b equipping, and it'll be true when equipping. And so we need to set b equipping, so we're going to go into shooter anim instance.cpp in update animation properties, and we're going to set b equipping right here under b reloading. And it's going to be similar to the line for b reloading. We're simply going to set it equal to shooter character get combat state is equal to e combat state equipping this time. So here we'll say ECS equipping. And now we'll have a Boolean called B equipping that will be true when the combat state is equal to equipping. Now we can affect the recoil weight by going all the way down to here where we're setting our recoil weight value. And we'll see that when we're reloading, we set recoil weight to 1. But we can also say or be equipping. And if that's the case, then recoil weight will still be 1. Now down here in the not turning in place, we're checking to see if we're crouching, and if we're reloading, we set the recoil weight to 1. We can also add this or be equipping right here as well. Now in the else case, when we're not crouching, we see if we're aiming or reloading, and we set the recoil weight to 1, and we can also say or be equipping. That way, if we're equipping, we should get the full animation. Let's go ahead and compile this. All right, so we're back in the editor and we've compiled. And so the last thing to do is go to character, shooter character BP, and search for the equip montage variable and set that to equip montage. Now that that's set, we can compile, we can press play, and we can try to equip a weapon. So I'm going to hit the 1 key. And there we see the equip animation gets played. All right, perfect. That is going to conclude this video. In the next video, we're going to make sure that we get the equip sound played when we equip the weapon. So when I hit the 1 key, we'll get that equip sound. So we'll do that in the next video. We'll see you then.